Good evening. The City of Plymouth City Council regular meeting for tonight, Thursday, April 11th, 2024 is now called to order. In-person participation by the public is permitted. As an alternative to in-person public comment, members of the public not attending in person may submit written comments prior to the meeting by emailing your comment to the Deputy City Clerk at vmchenry@cityofplymouth.org before 3:30 p.m. on the day of the meeting. Emailed public comments will be distributed to the City Council and made part of the official record. This meeting is being recorded. Council chambers are wheelchair accessible. Special accommodations may be requested by contacting the Deputy City Clerk 72 hours before the meeting. At this time, we ask that you please silence all cell phones or similar devices. Can we please have a roll call?
Councilmember Amoruso.
Here.
Councilmember Sim.
Here.
Councilmember White.
Here.
Vice Mayor McLaughlin, absent. Mayor Ackerland.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Number 2, approval of the City Council regular meeting agenda for tonight, April 11th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the City Council regular meeting as approved or as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Amoruso.
Aye.
Councilmember Sim.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mayor Ackerland.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Number 3, public comment. Under provisions of the Government Code, citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. Please submit a completed speaker submittal form to the Deputy City Clerk. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence. For public comments on agendized items, speakers will be called by the mayor at the point on the agenda when the item will be heard. The City Council is prohibited from materially discussing or acting on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or an urgent need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda. We have received written public comment that will be entered into the record from Amy Gomes, a resident of Plymouth, writing request regarding restoring virtual public access via Zoom. Have we received any other written comment?
No, we have not.
Pardon me? No. We have not. Oh, okay, thank you. And is there anybody here in City Hall who would like to make public comment at this time?
Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Spinetta, and I too am a resident of Plymouth. And I just wanted to show you, I wanted to follow the lead of Amy Gomes, and I wanted to omit submitting the last 6 pages of her petition onto record. So I just handed the last 6 pages of her petition to you. And I know they're not on record, just like how she did it. So I just wanted to be the same. And the part of her petition that she omitted, it's kind of like how she omits parts of facts and things through the petition, include the comments, the public comments, or however you want to say it, on her petition, that include her being quoted as her publishing that the anti-Semitic Zoom bombing wasn't really that big of a deal. In fact, she's published that twice online, even though federal and state and local agencies investigated the incident. I just thought, you know, when you take into account what this public comment is that you should take into account what happened. And I think another thing we should talk about is how she did apologize which I thought was very grand, and that she misquoted one of the council members. I just thought that was very important to say. Maybe it took me posting online that video, and I don't know, maybe I'm aggrandizing myself, but I think it's important to point out when she was wrong, and that she pointed out she was wrong in her petition. And when you make a petition, I just wanted to, just speak into the air that it's important to have all your facts right. And like saying that you were, the petition says that it was the sole jurisdiction in the county to stop Zoom, when in fact there were at least 2 other cities and there were other public agencies that had already stopped Zoom. That's an important fact to say correctly. And I just think it's really important to get your facts out there right when you're trying to have people back you up, especially if you were, like, say, a former public representative, like both she and her partner on their very private political group online that actually says that they threaten people if they talk about quotes or screenshots from their group. And I know that one of them is a representative down in the Bay Area still, so I hope that area allows that still for their representatives to speak like this. And I saw they are opening up their political group to other jurisdictions in Plymouth, and perhaps it's important that they open it up to maybe where they work as a government official. So thank you for your time, and I hope we enjoy this weather, even though we'll get another inch of rain and we don't have to water our gardens this week. So, all right, thank you guys.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in City Hall who would like to make public comment? Okay, not at this time. So I'm going to close public comment. Presentations, proclamations, appointments. There are none tonight. Number 5, consent calendar items. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless, before the City Council votes on the motion to adopt, members of the council, staff, or the public request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. 5.1 correspondence. We have received some correspondence from PG&E and Comcast. (5.2) Approve the regular meeting minutes of March 25th, 2024. 5.3 Accept the March warrant register. Item 5.4 Adopt resolution number 2024-04 condemning anti-Semitism. And I would like to take the opportunity to read that, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Let me find it.
You're going to show me a thumbs up. That's consensus, isn't it?
Resolution of the City Council of the, I'll read fast. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Plymouth, State of California, condemning anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. Whereas the City Council of the City of Plymouth recognizes the fundamental rights of all individuals to live free from discrimination and prejudice and recognizes everyone's contribution to the greater community. And whereas anti-Semitism is an age-old form of hatred and bigotry, which continues to manifest itself in various forms, including but not limited to verbal attacks, vandalism, and violence against Jewish individuals and institutions. And whereas the rise of anti-Semitic incidents poses a threat not only to the Jewish community, but also to the broader principles of acceptance and diversity that our city upholds. And whereas over the past several months, the City of Plymouth and other areas of Amador County have been subjected to despicable acts of hate speech and other intolerable behaviors, and whereas such acts of hate and ignorance have no place in a civilized society, and whereas combating anti-Semitism requires collective action and unwavering commitment from all levels of society, including local government, Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Plymouth unequivocally condemns anti-Semitism in all of its forms and manifestations, offers its unwavering support to those groups that have been targeted, will work towards a community free of intolerance and bigotry, affirms its commitment to promoting understanding, tolerance, and respect among all residents regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, or background, and pledges to join in unity with our neighboring cities, Amador County, local organizations, law enforcement agencies, educational institutions, and community leaders to combat anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. And thank you. Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar items? Any written public comment?
No.
Okay. Have we received any written comment on? Okay, I'll stop asking you then. Any public comment from anybody here in City Hall on the consent calendar? Okay, no public comment. And I'm closing public comment to the consent calendar and looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent calendar 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4 as it states in our agenda. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Amoruso.
Aye.
Councilmember Sem.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Mayor Ackerland.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. 7, regular agenda items. 7.1, receive information on the park grant and the costs to give direction on which project to complete for McGee Park. And could we please have a staff report?
The item before you tonight is to select a project for the park grant funds. This item has been before you in the past. We've wavered from splitting the funds to putting the funds back together to go towards just McGee Park. So there have been some delays in getting the park grants funded. The park grant going to construction. There's been community outreach on this project with 2 community meetings that we also had public input to, and had a list of projects. And at the November 15th meeting, there was a list provided to the council, and the 2 top projects were to a shade structure and the ADA access from Landrum Street. And option 1 in the packet is the ADA access from Landrum Street with a cost of $152,292.50. The permanent shade structure was not cost estimated due to the fact that it would completely block the gazebo that's in the park, which is the main focus in the park at this time, and we didn't feel that we wanted to block the main focal point in the park, because we're trying to enhance the park, not block the main focal point. So options 2 and 3 were included and cost estimated. Option 2 was cost estimated because there are major things that need to be upgraded in the bathroom that the city engineer and Public Works had pointed out. So we cost estimated those things for the bathroom. And option 3 was cost estimated due to many comments from the public that they wanted to see upgrades in the playground. And so we cost estimated that to show what the actual costs were to upgrade the park. And so before you are those 3 upgrades, and option 4 is a bench seat around a park where it would add additional seating to the park for people to sit during events and such. The clock is ticking on the grant. We do have some time to finish out the grant, but we need to keep in mind that anything can happen during construction, and it takes a long time. Once the council picks a contract, we have to draw out the plans. We have to do bid documents, go out to bid, select a construction company, and do all of that process, and then start the construction and do that process. All of that takes time, and so keep that in mind when you're selecting which project you want to do. So these are all before you. There are other options that were on the list from the November 15th meeting, which were pathways. There were improved lighting. Improved lighting can't be done at this time because we are maxed out on electrical in the park. We don't have any additional electricity that is capable in the park at this time. We are working with PG&E, but as of right now, there's no extra electricity that we can expand in the park. And the other item was to move all of the tables to the upper part of the park, making a party area. Those were the other items that were at the top of the list after the community meetings. So with that, I'll turn it over to council to answer any questions that you may have and any questions that the public may have after public comment.
Okay, I'd like to open it up for public comment, and then we can go back to discussion and questions from the council, if that would be okay. Okay, so there's no written public comment on this. Is there anybody in City Hall who would like to make public comment?
Hi, I'm still Michael Spinetta, and I still live in the city of Plymouth. And I just wanted to remember a long time ago when Pat got us all together to work and kind of combine McGee and Sharkey Park together there on Main Street. And I thought that was pretty neat when we all worked on that together, and seeing a lot of other people working, painting the fences in the park. And I know one of the things, there was money that used to be in the kitty to fix up the playground. And we lost like 3 different play structures there, and some of them I want to put back in personally. But, I think putting in seats or something else for the kids, or something. I know we were maxed out on lights. I'd love it if we could have some more lights for nighttime, since we are there later in the day when we have events. That's something in the future. It's not regarding to this money. But I know it's important to focus on that, like a couple of the business owners stated one time here at City Hall on record. And, maybe there will be something for the other parks. I think we have a pretty darn nice green belts going on between, Howard Park, I'm going to get that wrong, the baseball field, and Veterans Park and Lodge Hill. And I think, if we can ever make something between Hawks View and have a little park there, and coming down to into the Main Street Park where we used to be drawn on the map to come out. I know maps are important in this town, and knowing where roads used to be are important. I know that Golden Way used to go through on the maps, at least. And so I just wanted to thank you guys for working on this park, and we all talked about it at those meetings. And I just think it's a good deal what you choose to do, and we can work on the other parks too. I think everybody who's working on Veterans Park is pretty awesome. I'll bring that up at the time since I have a minute. I think it's great seeing, a dozen people working out there together. And maybe we'll just keep doing that through all the darn parks and never stop. So use this money now, get more money later. If you guys can just put your minds to it and find more grants and have this happen again and work hard to it and specifically look for that. I think that's the most important thing. And then we can hit Lodge Hill and, maybe put lights on the garden there. And maybe that would help out the ambulance people next door, the American Legion. Something that benefits everybody in the areas. And I don't know. There we go. I'm just rambling like I do. You guys have a good night again.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, there's no more public comment. I'll close public comment and open this for staff discussion. Councilmember White, you have any comments or questions?
Comments and I don't think any questions, but comments. I like the first two options extremely. Anything that makes things more ADA accessible, I'm all for. That just goes to, having everyone have the ability to use an area. We have a lot of seniors in our area, and we do have some people with disabilities, and I think that would be an extremely helpful thing. Option number two is more of self-satisfying for myself. I work in an industry where my guys are constantly looking for restrooms, and probably one of the nicest restrooms our guys all know about are the bathrooms out at Howard Park at the arena out there. Everyone goes, hey, if you want to go to a clean, nice restroom where the toilet's flush and that's the place to go. Service workers, we're constantly looking for those areas. So I'm just saying that's just a little bit of being in the service industry, kind of my thing in it. But I mean, all in all, option one, I'm in big time support of. When did, and this might be a question for Councilmember Sims actually, your son-in-law, he spearheaded a big project with the toys over there. Do you remember when that was? That was just a couple of years ago.
About 4 years ago.
4 years ago? Okay.
My
No,
structures.
I think, of course, we want the park set up for our children and our youth to enjoy. I do know that was the kind of the last recent thing that we did over there, so slowly build it all up as a whole. That's just my opinions.
Councilmember Amoruso?
Well. Okay, so here we go. Kind of played with some different ideas here. We had four options, obviously, right? One of them being option 3 at $260,000. But if we lump 1, 2, and 3 or 1, 2, and 4 together, we come up to $227,292. So my suggestion would be we take the 1, 2, and 4, or just number 2, because that's within our means. We also where we fall short on some of the money from between the grant and what it's going to cost to do any of these projects. I'm trying to get the most bang for our buck because it's cheaper to do it now than it is tomorrow, right? It's always going to be cheaper to bite that bullet. Is that we do have parks money that comes for permits, which is about $29,000-ish. And then we have TOT tax, because that play structure that's out there right now cost us $80,000 originally, and that was all TOT tax money. So I think we could either grow this project, we have the TOT tax money, we have the parks money, and we can put it together, just and make a better project out of the whole thing. Now that we're seeing all the parts and pieces and all the things kind of finally culminating all together in one spot, options wise. So that's my suggestion. So I don't care which direction we go with that. That's just something when you look at the numbers and what can be done, what makes sense for most bang for its buck. The other thing that I'd like to add is, we have that beautiful clock that got donated to us, and I know that wouldn't cost much, but maybe somehow work that in. And it's only a couple $1,000s to have that base set. If we have the engineers out here already,
you know, to have them kind of pick and set up what the engineering for that clock base would be, so we can at least get that installed sooner than later at this point. So that would be my suggestion to, just, that's a small one just to throw in on the backside. So that's all I got.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sim?
I have questions and some suggestions. My first question is, Margaret, I don't see where the matching funds is located in this $179,000. Was that on top of the 179, or was that? I mean, there's a matching fund component in this thing, as I recall. There's no mention of that in here anywhere. And it was like $35,000, $40,000, right? I'm presuming it's on top of the 179. I'm also presuming if we spend 179 or less, we don't have to match it. But I'm not sure about that. I think it's something we can look into, right?
I don't think that's true.
Yes, I will look into that.
You
I'm
understand what
not
I'm
sure,
saying?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you recall a matching funds component to this?
No.
I do. And I think,
Yeah, it came up in the last couple,
I think these-
when we talked about this right after our get together. I think actually Stephanie pointed it out, because it wasn't mentioned in the last time we talked about this. She pointed out that there was the matching, because there was originally matching. And it
in my
like
mind,
35
I was
to
adding the
40,000.
two together, and I was for the last months and months and months, I was around $220,000, which would have included our matching funds.
Right.
That's the number I was thinking. And then I rounded it off and I said, when we were talking about splitting it between the two parks, that's 100 each roughly.
Right, yeah.
That's what I
That's
thought.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think I'm right about that, but that's not a big deal right now. Option number one eats all of our money up. And I'm with everybody here on council that ADA is very important. But don't forget, we have an ADA, we have an area where it's ADA at the parking lot where you can drive in. We have handicap parking, and it's very, very accessible to park from the parking lot. I agree, it's not down that slope, but to put stairs in and lighting in and railing in for $150,000 plus a $20,000 contingency clause I see in here that the engineer put in, it blows the whole thing goes out the window in one item.
Can I talk to that point for just a second?
Sorry?
Can I talk to that point for just a
Sure,
second?
absolutely.
So when we have events in the park, we typically close off the parking lot. So those handicap spaces are not available during events.
Well, certain events, but not all of them, right?
Almost all of the events in the park,
Okay.
those spaces are not available. Because things are put in the parking lot, vendors are put in the parking lot, and so we can't have cars driving in the parking lot because there's foot traffic in the parking lot. And so there actually isn't that ADA access through there.
But for $200,000, can we rethink that a little bit? And make those handicap parking spaces available, if possible?
Then we would lose vendors in that area,
We'll have a parking lot for sure.
for sure.
Oh, yeah, over the middle of that.
At least half.
Okay, well, that's my thought on that, because it's all of our money, just for that one access point, by and large, right?
We do have a lot of people coming down from Landrum Street, from the community that lives on that side of town. And it is difficult with parents with strollers to get down to the park with their kids.
But I was thinking if we could improve that pathway to make it not quite so slippery. I see it's right now it's covered with rocks and gravel stuff. I see people walking down. If we clean that up and put a handrail along there, obviously it doesn't help for wheelchairs and walkers, but it does help for older people that have to negotiate that hill. It doesn't make it ADA, I get that, but that's for another day. But and the option number 3 is obviously we've all come to the conclusion that $260,000. We don't have that much money to even think about that. And I think that included some new surfacing for the kids, play structure and so forth, where I personally think the wood chips are doing a great job. I was up there this morning looking at it, and I can see where a couple times a year we bring in a big load of chips, spread it out, blend it in. It's great. It's soft. If anybody falls out of the structure, I think it's a nice cushiony fall. So I think that obviously we can't afford to put in astroturf in that whole park. Plus astroturf, it's hot too. There's no shade up there. Anything that the wood chips does not get real hot, but any kind of a material you put on there in lieu of the wood chips will get super hot. I didn't see anything in here with regards to lighting for the play structures. I heard you said about the fact that we can't add any more electrical connections, but I would think that we could do a couple of light towers, solar light towers, so that we can at least lighten that back corner up for the kids after the sun goes down. That can't cost very much, and I didn't.
Some good technology.
What's that?
Yeah, good technology there now.
Yeah, and I don't see anything about that in here, but that's something I think we should consider. The bathroom. Everybody, I think, can kind of agree that it's pretty ugly. There's mention in here about expanding the size of the 2 bathrooms. I measured this morning, they're 6 foot by 8 feet. Plenty of room to bring in a wheelchair and turn around there. And it already has handrails in there. I don't know if they're the right height or not, but and the doorway is 35 inches, so easily can accommodate a wheelchair through that door into that room. In fact, it's bigger than the bathroom right there.
They're actually not ADA compliant.
No, I know they're not able, but if we
You
don't
cannot
rebuild
maneuver a
the
wheelchair in there.
bathrooms, if we remodel the bathrooms, do we have to comply with everything ADA says we do?
Yes.
If you touch the bathrooms, you have to make them ADA
Paint?
compliant.
Paint, and just make it look better. I mean, obviously we can talk about plumbing, but plumbing but how far out of whack are we ADA in the bathrooms?
We're size-wise. We would have to bring the bathrooms out to the edge of the cement
Why?
because that's the size they need to be to meet the specs of an ADA bathroom.
Those bathrooms right there don't comply because they're smaller.
You're correct, they don't.
Okay, for the day. But so are you saying even if we do if we just do a remodel, we have to comply with every ADA? Maybe the Miss Attorney can answer that.
Yes, my understanding is that any structural alterations,
Not structural. I'm talking about paint.
not, well, I think painting, I would think no. I mean, you wouldn't have to because it's not an alteration structurally.
We have limited funds. I think we have around $200,000 to move those walls, move that doorway, and expand those bathrooms. It says right here $68,000. I mean, we're pouring through our money really fast here. So are we trying to upgrade the park, or are we trying to take care of one item? I'm just saying, 200 grand doesn't go very far. And just think that we were talking about to spread that money over 2 parks. That is beyond ludicrous, right?
10% of the money has to go towards ADA.
How much?
10%. When we pull the building permit,
10% of the
of the total money has to go to ADA.
That's $20,000.
Yeah.
That won't do any of these things we're talking about here.
Right.
The bench around the tree, lovely idea. Full of birds. What's on the bench at the end of the day? When you put a bench around a tree, I've seen a few benches around various parks. You can't sit on them because the birds are all on top of the benches. Sorry?
That was my
I think it's a great idea. However, I think we could use a few more benches up there. I walked around, there's some pretty big spots up there that could certainly use a couple more benches, table benches.
Currently, it is very hard for Public Works to mow that lawn
Because of benches,
because of the tables and benches in the park.
I hadn't thought about that, good point.
No good fixes. Like that. Personally, just. Well, that's what I say, go pick three
Well-
and get most bang for the buck.
I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
Pick one big one. Pick one big one.
I've got a few more
No, go ahead.
thoughts, but no, that's okay,
Okay, well, I'll go around for another round. I think that when we did the community workshops as a group over those couple of days, a few things that we did which was really helpful, is we had to eliminate some suggestions because they just weren't feasible. And now I didn't know, makes total sense that the shade structures, for example, aren't feasible. So I understand why that's not here. I am looking at this and I'm thinking that option number one, now that I've seen the price tag, it doesn't necessarily seem feasible. And the reason I say that, well, so I'm looking at the options, but I also see the last sentence is that, we can decide to combine projects, or we can give direction to do something different. I might not be the most popular person in the room by saying this, but I'd like to almost see us go back to the drawing board and work with maybe a landscape designer, landscape architect, whoever, give them our wish list and our budget, and then we'd have to start eliminating things. And I think that could be done fairly quickly. I would also wonder if it's appropriate, if the council would consider the idea of even forming an ad hoc committee for this. Yeah, please go ahead.
No comment at this time.
Okay. But I kind of want to get back to what I thought was the original intent of the park grant, was to almost like a beautification project. And I know at one of our previous meetings, I think in November, when we made the decision to combine the money that was going to be used for Lodge Hill onto the McGee Park, one of the reasons it was that we had a discussion about, this is an opportunity to do some beautification at the park, to not only encourage and entice the members of our community to use the park and make it a more inviting, welcoming space. And then also, the plus side of that was hopefully it would attract more visitors to the area, which would in turn help some of our local businesses. And our local businesses are screaming for more foot traffic. As far as the handicap parking, you're right, that parking is not available when we have the vendors. I've often wondered, why don't we have a handicap parking zone right out in front of City Hall? I've wondered that. And I wonder how difficult would it be so that during fairs or events or whatever, if that if that handicap parking isn't available, how difficult would it be to make handicap parking available across the street where folks in wheelchairs, walkers, whatever, could, or anybody who needs the handicap parking, they have access to the crosswalk and the sidewalk and then going into the park. So I wonder if that's an option. If we're going to make the entrance on Landrum Street ADA accessible, then we need to come up with some parking there also. So one way or another, it looks like we're going to have to find another place to put handicap parking. And like I said, I've always wondered why we don't have handicap parking right out in front of City Hall. I know there's some zones that have been painted. I've heard that those were kind of unofficial. Somebody got out there and just put the paint. Why couldn't we designate an area for handicap parking for 24/7? But I guess I'm going back to wanting to kind of start all over again with the ideas that have been presented. Doug here has a list of the things that were presented when we did the community workshops, and look at having somebody help us draw up some design and kind of go from there. Those are my thoughts. I'd like to see this be thought of more as a beautification project. I understand, I can see where it's difficult to mow the lawn under the tables. Could and maybe I'm getting into the weeds here, could we eliminate the lawn and put in, I don't know, some other type of sort of decomposed granite or something, I don't know, where they don't have to mow it, where there's less maintenance for our public works people, some drought tolerant shrubs around. But again, I'm not a landscape designer, so I'm going to stop that right there.
I thought the tables are on concrete slabs, so isn't that correct? And they got to mow around the concrete slab. That's the problem, not under the table itself.
Yeah, okay, around the table. But if there was something, if it's difficult to mow around that cement slab,
Yes.
maybe something else could be put in, and that's where the paths and shrubs and that sort of thing could be incorporated. When this was first presented to the council a few years ago, you and I were pretty new to the council, and the previous city manager brought it to us. The previous city manager did have renderings or designs done by a landscape architect or designer. And so there is somebody who's familiar with the city, kind of familiar with the project. It would be nice to bring him back in for consultation or designs or whatever, or somebody else in the community that does something similar. So those are my thoughts, but I guess what I'm really trying to say is for me personally, I'd like to give direction to do something different than these three options, except for the bench seat around the tree. Anyway, that's my thought. So let me go back around. Councilmember White, any additional thoughts?
To be real honest, I think we can just keep on, we've been beating this up for a couple of years, pretty good. I don't mind if we go back and, on any of these ideas. I will go with a little back history. I'm sure some of you don't know, I had a brother who was mentally and physically disabled and wheelchair bound. Last thing you want to do is screw around with ADA. That's all I'm going to say. You just don't want to do it. There's people that fight the system, and they have every right to fight the system. And so just always keep that in consideration. I know this was a beautification project back when we initially looked at it also. So, you know, I was thinking even as far as, you know, some flowers or something almost as a memorial to, I want to call them our matriarchs and our people of our community that we hold at a high standard, kind of a donation, or not a donation, a memorial. for those people, that might be an idea to think of. That's all I gotta say.
Councilmember Amoruso?
Well, yeah, I'm going to agree with Keith on his sentiments. The issue here is that we are up against timelines. If we try to go reinvent this wheel a third or fourth time now, I think we have some valid things that we've really pushed through. That's why I suggest we pick, to get the bang for our buck, pick, either pick 3 things and get a really good product at the end of the day that does deal with all of our ADA issues, or go with the one project that's going to be, about the same price-ish. So and we have those other monies. We have TOT. So we can grow the project and make it a more cohesive project, or we can switch wheels and find 2 or 3 other things that we want to do. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm opposed to anything, but right now we have some firm things that really have been identified as needs. And we beat this one up. It was a Sunday at this point, and like City Manager said, we are up against some timelines. So if we go to an ad hoc committee, and maybe we drag this thing another 2-3 months, another couple sessions with everyone to try and brainstorm or figure out what we need. So my only concern is we are getting some time, and that's why we're talking about this today, so that we can make tweaks if we have to, but push this project forward to get some completion sooner than later at this point. Big tweaks. So, like I said, we have options. And like I said, there's nothing written in stone here, obviously, right? These are also just our top suggestions. But I think we have some good things. If we lump 3 of them together, make one project out of that, or take the big project of the playground area. Because I don't think we can do all of it. We can't do $400,000 worth of stuff, but we can do 200,000 or 2 plus, 260.
Councilmember Sim?
We have 2 years and 3 months to complete the project.
And we all know how government projects run.
We're not building the Bray Bridge, we're tweaking a park. Unless we have to rebuild the restroom, like in rebuilding, which I personally have a hard time seeing why we have to completely rebuild the restroom. But that's where the other thing is, it gets hot over there. I agree 100%. We can't put permanent shade structures in. It's going to block everything. I think we need to go back to the shade sails that we had. I know that we've had some problems with them, but the ones we took down were way past their prime. I think they do a pretty good job. I know what they cost because I bought a few, but I think to have, or put in more trees, and I think trees would be a great addition to the park. But of course, if we do certain things, we're not going to have any money for shade structures or trees or a lot of things. I mean, that's just, we only have so much money to work with. And I don't think I'm not prepared to adopt anything on this tonight without going through the issues that perhaps I don't know 100% about. Like our council mentioned tonight, that we have to spend 20% for ADA. Wasn't aware of that. But these are things we got to think about.
20 or 10%?
10%. I said 10%. Pardon me. I was thinking $20,000. But yeah. Anyway, no, I'm not prepared to vote on any of these 4 items tonight, personally. That's what I have.
Okay, so what are the wishes of the council? Personally, I'd like to, like I said earlier, I'd like to go in a different direction than what we have in front of us. So what are the wishes, or does somebody want to make a motion?
Do we have to provide direction? Is that what we have to do?
Yes, I would recommend a motion if you are selecting a project.
If we were selecting a project?
Yes, if you're not, then you could provide direction to staff to return.
So if we want to select 1, 2, 3, all of the above, then we would make a motion.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, you were thinking about putting an ad hoc committee together?
And I was going to say, if you do wish to create an ad hoc committee, that should be something that should be agendized. Like you could say,
Okay.
we want to have this on the next agenda, so then that way you can appoint members to that ad hoc at that time.
Okay.
Councilmember McLaughlin should be back by then, correct? I'm cool with that. And if we agendize that, that's just my opinion. My opinion.
Does the council feel like, and especially for you, Margaret, and staff, do you feel like an ad hoc committee is necessary, or that we could just
Yeah, lots
Meet.
of options. Pick from.
meet and have discussions and include, we've got somebody here who has good ideas about beautification and plants and trees and all that stuff. Do we need to put an ad hoc committee together?
No, it is up to council's discretion as to whether they wish to create an ad hoc committee. If you wanted to, have one or, well, 2 council members essentially meet and also allow members of the public to also participate in that ad hoc committee process and then return to council with recommendations, you are certainly welcome to do that. I think you would also want to consider timing as well and whether that's going to achieve something different than just this current forum. You could also as well provide direction to staff specifically on the things that you would be looking for. So then that way, for example, if there's certain information such as what Councilmember Sim said regarding certain restrictions on the use of the grant, and to have that outlined so then you can make that decision. You can certainly do that too. Provide parameters to staff direction, or as you had suggested, like it's up to you entirely whether you wish to proceed with an ad hoc.
Can we also table it until next meeting? And if we have more questions or ideas, bring them back?
Yes, you can actually agendize that both. So if you are coming back and tabling this item, I would recommend that you put this on the agenda for the next meeting. And then you can also put on the agenda the ad hoc committee. And then if you decide you don't want to proceed with the ad hoc at that time, then don't proceed with that agenda item. So I would have that as a secondary as well, if you feel like you need additional time.
Can we do that by consensus?
Yes, because it would just,
Okay, sorry.
sorry.
But before he jumped in there with something, so I was going to say something, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think it would be premature. But I was thinking, how would the council feel about giving direction to city staff to reach out to a landscape designer or a landscape architect, I should say, or
You realize those are really expensive. They're not cheap. I know they hired one from my mom's house and we never used her. But Brandon would use
yeah,
it because of the expense. You're
Yeah.
expensive. Oh, it's a great idea. We have money.
that's true.
Yeah.
And I guess if we table this for the next agenda, or for the next meeting, we could talk about it then.
Because we would probably have to put that as part of the grant. If you're gonna use a landscape architect, that would be a component of expense out of the grant.
Yeah, I don't remember when Rex did this a few years ago, I don't remember what he paid, the landscape designer. I, for some reason, I'm thinking $5,000.
It's also very
And-
important we find out with this matching funds thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, I agree.
yeah.
It's
Um,
a big percentage of the amount.
Yeah, it is, $40,000.
And if we did something with a landscape architect, that money could, I suppose, come out of TOT funding.
Good.
Or you said
Got
there's
multiple vehicles.
a parks fund?
Yeah, we got multiple vehicles.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
So if we don't make a motion to put an ad hoc on the agenda for the next meeting, then we have to start from scratch in 2 weeks? Or can we do it now and say, then we can decide at that point whether we want to move forward with the ad hoc committee,
Correct.
right? So
Yes.
we do it now, we need to put it on the agenda
Make a
now,
motion.
or I guess,
I thought she said that
or we do,
everything consensus on that.
Yeah, you can have a consensus to put something on the agenda for next council meeting, and you would have the 2 agenda items, so the same one as tonight. And then following that, you would have the appointment of the ad hoc. So how I would imagine this kind of working out is if at the next meeting on the same agenda item that you're tabling tonight, you decide you wish to proceed with the ad hoc, at least you have it on the agenda, so then you can appoint members of the council to the ad hoc at that time. But you would not be able to appoint members tonight because it's not on the
we
agenda.
don't do it now.
Okay.
Correct.
Got that.
We all kind of agree
Okay.
with this.
To table this for,
We'll make a
I'm married
motion.
to everything, so, I mean, it's just, okay, let's get the best possible project. we
See
can
that?
get.
So we make a motion to put the ad hoc,
I don't think that.
no, we have to
is
do that
necessary.
next week, or 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
so we know we can do it now. can't we?
We just need consensus,
We
so
all consensus, we could say all of us, that's
Okay.
all on the agenda.
Okay? Okay, I think, that is it for that item.
I'm just confirming everyone's in agreement on
Do
that.
we have consensus?
Yes.
Thumbs
Thank
up?
Yes.
Okay.
4 thumbs up.
And then item 8, could we have a city manager's report?
So I just want to remind everybody that this Saturday is the Spring Family Fun Day, and there is 100% chance of rain
Oh,
that is being forecast. Don't fear, we are still having the event. We are moving things inside City Hall. We will, Maker's Market will be out in the, buildings. Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department will have their vehicles outside. The games will be inside, so come play and have a good time. I had 2 more things to tell you, and I left my paper in my office. What were they? Come on, read my mind. We are getting a robot to clean the pool. We'll put it in the pool and it will sweep and clean the bottom of the pool.
that's awesome.
So instead of taking staff 3 hours to manually sweep the pool, we'll put the robot in and it'll clean while staff goes and does other things. So there's that. We are getting security for the building. That will be done next week. And we are gearing up for the pool to open up. We have a survey out on our webpage for what kind of swim lessons people want. That survey will close on Wednesday at 4:30 so that we can post swim lesson schedule on the website, and people can start signing up for swim lessons on the 22nd at 8:30 in the morning. They'll be first come, first serve. We have all but one of our lifeguards hired. We have more applications than we have spots for. They're very good applications that we've received. We're in a good position for the activities that we plan for the pool. So I'm very pleased with how that's going so far. We are very pleased with the responses that we've had to the survey on the swim lessons. We've had it out for 10 days and we've had almost 50 responses. So we are excited for the pool to be open.
Thank you. And if there's anything else that you remember, let me know and we'll go back. Councilmember White, anything you would like to share? And after we do this, then we'll go to future agenda items.
Okay, I don't have any reports or anything. I'd like to apologize to the community and my constituents. I just realized through an email that I actually approved the minutes to a meeting without reading all the way through, and I messed up, and I wish I could be more perfect, but I'm not. Working 50 hours in a week and dealing with a sick parent and dealing with those things. Sometimes I don't get to read all the way through the agenda, so I'm sorry for making a motion to approve an agenda on a word that I did not state, but I accidentally did it, and I've already been kind of informed that that's been corrected in the minutes.
We will be bringing those minutes back next meeting to correct that. We've already corrected it
Okay.
on our end to bring back next meeting to correct that verbiage.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, no problem. I just, I'm sorry. I should have read my agenda, and I'm apologizing to our community.
Can I say something to that, kind of
Yes.
out of turn? I think that apologizing for, not catching that in the minutes is one thing, and we're all busy, and I don't think it's an issue of, perfection, because none of us are perfect. But I think it shows one hell of a man and a lot of character that's very impressive, that you apologize for something that, it was kind of a nothing burger. But it shows how much you care about the community and that you are always willing to do the right thing. So I applaud you and
Well, I appreciate
respect
that.
you.
I appreciate that.
I've respected you for almost 4 years now. Anyway, Councilmember Amoruso,
I've got nothing. I'm good, thank you.
Councilmember Sim.
I think what the mayor's trying to say is you can't leave at the end of the year.
I am out of here.
I don't have a report because I haven't been in any meetings between the last two meetings, so before I'm good, thank you.
And then what I have to report is that I think Margaret and I had a meeting this morning with a couple of gentlemen from the Department of Homeland Security, specifically the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency, which I guess they call CISA, something like that. One of the gentlemen was able to be here in person. He's responsible for, I guess, physical security, whereas his colleague, who was with us on speakerphone for a little while until he had to go off to something else, handles the cyber security. I'm very appreciative of their time. They have so much that they can offer us in the way of assistance, including assessments, physical assessments of all of our properties and our gathering places and all that, and then also assessments of anything that might be along the lines of cyber security. and he already had some recommendations this morning. In fact, I see that one has already been put into place, which is amazing, and it has to do with safety. And educated us about why this is important and what's happening domestically. They're also able to assist with doing some training, specifically de-escalation situations, active assailants, and he talked to us about stop the bleed training. They're available to do tabletop exercises, drills, exercises, just a great resource, couple of just great, warm, helpful guys. I happen to know one of them from outside of the city, and so that's where the connection was made. So anyway, I'm really excited about that. For a small town, we're able to tap into this great resource. So that was great. I don't know, anything you want to add to that? You want me to go back to you? Okay. So that is all that I have for my report. It looks like Margaret has remembered something.
RFP for IT services is going out tomorrow morning. I'm very excited about that one.
That's okay. Request for future agenda items. Councilmember White.
I have none at this time.
Councilmember Amoruso.
None at this time also.
Councilmember Sim.
I have nothing right now.
And I don't have anything either. So it's 7:37 and the meeting is now adjourned.